Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Lady Calamere, and I am doing my 85th presentation. It will be on the Babylonian goddess Nanshe. Nanshe, who is she? Well, she was pretty important back in the day, and she wasn't a minor deity at all. Unfortunately, some more people are rediscovering this goddess and actually starting to work with her, worship her, or use her in spells, which is really cool. Because when we think of Babylonian deities, we only think of maybe Inanna, well, that's Sumerian, but let's say Ishtar, Ereshkigal, or Sin, the moon god. And some people know who he is. Or Enki. But there were so many other deities. And Nanshe was pretty important. And pretty powerful. So we have her card, Nanshe, which she is used in the Justice card from a beautiful deck that you can get on Amazon or eBay. Babylonian Tarot by Sandra Tabitha Cicero. And if you're interested in the Babylonian deities, you will find this tarot to be a very good tool to use. Nanshe. She's also from Sumerian, but also Babylonian. And she's had many different titles, including the Queen Mother, Mother Goddess, Lady of Abundance, or Lady of Dreams. And for most of the time, she's seen as the daughter of Ninhursag and Enki, but sometimes she's presented as the daughter of Enlil, and sometimes the sister, seen as the sister of Ereshkigal and Ishtar. So Nanshe, what is she about? Well, definitely she is about justice, legal justice as well as social justice. She is a goddess of equality and fairness. And she has so many duties, so many responsibilities, not just for justice. But she represented also the commerce, but also justice in commerce, that people weren't cheating each other, that people weren't substituting a small amount of grain for a lot of grain, and people weren't substituting a heavier weight for a small weight when measuring food and commodities. So she dealt with the fairness of business and transaction. She was against stealing and also unfair business practices. Some big businesses and corporations seem to get away with it. That's pretty unfair. She would also frown on unequal pay due to gender or color or whatever. So she would be like an equal opportunity employer if she was in the business world. Nanshe also dealt with the storerooms. The storerooms meaning the back in ancient day they would have a storeroom full of grain or food, or like a big huge pantry. So she represented that. In fact, one of her symbols was a basket. Just trying to think of the type of, like a, I think it was made of some type of straw basket that would contain, made of reeds. Sorry, containers made of reeds that were never empty and sometimes even overflowing with food like bread stuff. So here we see she represents the goddess of plenty to eat. And in fact, her husband, or one of the ones she's married to, is Haya, Haia. He's the god of the storerooms, which dealt with, like I said, food. So she made sure that even when people went fishing, that people were able to catch fish, to be able to feed their families, to be able to sell so that they can feed their families and put a roof over your head. And speaking of that connection, she represented a goddess that will help you with a home and put a roof over your head. Four walls, not four rolls. 4 walls and a roof. Excuse me, it's been a long day. So she was the one, she's the goddess that also dealt with the debt slave. So back in the day in ancient Babylonia, if you owed too much and you were in debt, you could sell yourself to slavery. And it was said that she would give good advice to the people on what to do. And also she was the one to nurture the slave if they were mistreated by their masters. So they would sell themselves to slavery until they can pay off the debt, and then they were released from slavery. And in modern times, she represents those who are deep in debt, to the point of, swimming in debt up to their eyeballs and beyond. So here we see that she takes care of people who are poor, disenfranchised, discarded, castaways, the poor, and those who are in debt, and those that are trapped, unfortunately, in modern slavery. I don't want to get into it. It makes me sick. But she's a goddess that you can go to, and hopefully, we can end these horrible crimes of, I don't want to talk about it. It makes me sick. Then her sag is good for those who are bullied, mistreated, the abused, those who are considered misfits, those who are treated like the odd man out, the one who's never invited to parties, the one who's last picked for any school games, the one that is always passed over for a promotion no matter how good they do, the one that just seems they can't get a fair shake in life no matter what they do, how hard they work. She also represents the homeless, the working poor, and the working stiffs. Now, she is a dream goddess, meaning that she communicates with you when you're in deep thought, deep meditation, or dreaming. And it is said that she will bring her messages to those who call to her, to their dreams. And and she can help you with lucid dreamings, psychic dreams. And there are some people that can use magical powers to influence people's dreams, or to give them nightmares. And that's the one way she can punish people too, is when she gets angry. Those who deserve it, she can give nightmares. And she also can give insanity. She is the mother of the orphan. Now, back in Babylonian times, and especially when it became very patriarchal, extremely patriarchal, at one point where it became very patriarchal, it was hard for a widow and an orphan to get by. So for the widow that could not marry, she would take care of them, or she would help a widow to become married. She would help the orphan who had no one, for she is the goddess of the widows and the orphans. And in this today modern sense, she will be the goddess of the single parent. That includes the single dad, the single father. And I know single mothers is hard too. So she takes care of them. She takes care of people who have been unjustly accused, unrightfully imprisoned, and those that are seeking justice against someone who did them harm. She's a goddess of dream interpreters and sleep therapists. Her other symbol is a vessel with a fish in it, which represents a uterine symbol. It's usually seen that, and where she becomes a goddess of Pisces. So her major animals is actually a fish and a pelican. However, Enki gave her dominion or power over the Persian Gulf and all the animals within it. So is there evidence that they said Nanshe talked to ravens and even bats, that she can communicate with the animals. So this goddess is a goddess of abundance, fertility, money, even personal power. So even her temple priests served as dream interpreters, going back to the dream. So there's also Nanshe. She's actually really famous, probably best known for the Gudea cylinders. So these are 2 terracotta cylinders, which is in the text of the building of Ningirsu's temple, which was around 2125 BCE, right around there, in which she interprets the governor of Lagash's dream, Gudea. He was the governor, and that was back. He was around circa around 2144 2144 BCE, which he encourages him in this interpretation of his dream to build a temple for his god, and which he does. Nanshe's main element is water, and her main metal is silver. So her huge sacred site, no, you don't take my drink. Her huge sacred site was the Sumerian city of Nina, which is now in modern Sorghul, which is located in Iraq. So the other name of Haya was she's also known to be the consort of Nindar. Stop it! No! You're not getting my drink. You are determined, aren't you? Joker is here. Stop it! So, Nanshe will not assist any ingrates, the arrogance, and those who outrightly does evil to people. She punishes the offenders with like insanity, like I said, nightmares and mental illness. Nanshe is a goddess who determines fate. Now, she also has dominion over fishing. She's not a fan of overfishing. I can tell you that, because there's no balance in that. Her sacred day was the Babylonian New Year. Nanshe, would you stop it? You're not getting my drink. So Nanshe, her birth, well, I'll tell you the story of her story of Enki and Ninhursag. These are two great deities who became lovers. And they stayed in the land of Dilmun, which was like the Babylonian version of the Garden of Eden. But Ninhursag had to return to her divine home to go back to her duties. And she left Enki alone to his own devices. But Ninhursag had already given birth to a daughter. And when his daughter grew, Enki became lonely and left to his own devices. Yes, he had sex with her. She gave birth to a daughter. And Enki being who he is, he left to his own devices, had sex with that daughter, in which that daughter gave birth to another daughter named Utu. Not to be confused with Utu, the sun god, in Samaria. But her name was spelled Uttu. In which Enki had sex with her. And it was one of those wham, bam, thank you, man. You know, the fucking duck kind of thing. Well, this daughter basically put her foot down. She's not going to be disrespected. The younger daughter complains to Ninhursag about the neglect, the ill treatment, how it's not fair. From which Ninhursag, being upset, told her daughter, Utu, well, told this daughter, not her daughter, but told this daughter, Utu, to wipe the seed off her body and bury it in the ground, in which he does. And then these beautiful plants spring from the ground. Now Enki, being left to his own devices, comes back with his visor easy mode. And he sees these plants, and he comes under temptation. He must taste them all. They look too good not to pass up. And he eats them all, greedily swallowing, eating every one. He just eats his children. Well, when he does that, Ninhursag finds out and curses him with the evil eye of death. And just deserts the realm, him and the realm of the gods, to a far, far, far off sanctuary. Enki is cursed with the eye of death. He gets sick. He becomes sicker by the day. He falls ill and is near death. In which one of the animals of Ninhursag told her what's happened to Enki. And yeah, this has to stop. So Ninhursag comes back. She asks Enki, she holds the frail body, the almost dead body of Enki in her arms. And she asks Enki, where does it hurt? And each time he answers, she draws the pain into her own body. And when she draws this negativity, this pain, this hell and torture into her body, something good comes out of it. A child, a deity, which she gives birth. And she does it one by one, because he had 8 afflictions. She takes these 8 afflictions and makes benedictions out of it. She gives birth to 8 deities. We have the god of plants and growth, Abu. We have other deities, such as deities associated with copper, and another deity, Ninsitu, the goddess of healing. And we have the god of healing. But the most popular of these deities came to be Nanshe and Nisaki, who is actually, she's the goddess of beer. I'm sorry, Ninkasi, not Nisaki. Ninkasi. I'm getting disrupted by this cat. Stop it! Ninkasi, not Nisaki. I was like, what the hell? Another popular one was a goddess of the rib. And her name basically, she who gives life. Ninti. Yeah, do we see something pre-biblical going on here? But anyways, Nanshe was born from this. I got the little pest away. He was so determined to get in my drink, and I'm not really happy with their behavior today. I'm less than pleased. So, Nanshe, she's also called, I forgot to bring this up, Nanshe is also sometimes called Nancy, N-A-N-C-E. And there's another word, which I won't call her by, is spelled N-A-Z-I, Nancy. And you can imagine why, right? So I'd rather call her Nanshe. But she is the goddess of weights and measurements. So here we see a goddess dealing with math. Meaning just with weights and measurements. So if you're having problems with that, and she can help you with learning or being able to absorb the knowledge for this type of math. To convert weights and measurements, and especially in the medical field, we need, this is need to be known. So we know how much anesthesia to give someone, so we know how much medication, so we don't over-medicate, so we don't give too little anesthesia or too much. So yeah, that's important. Especially weight. And measurement too. So she's also the goddess of oaths, meaning that you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you, Nanshe. I'm not saying they did it like that, but yeah. Because she does deal with justice. So she's definitely going to deal with judges, lawyers, prosecutors. So those are some of her people. Oh my God. What you doing, Joker? The Joker is here. The Joker. Agent of Chaos, literally today. So I'm sure you can find about the hymn of Gudea and the Gudea cylinders, in which Nanshe is a very helpful, wise goddess. And is she approachable, even for a beginner? Yes. She can be very benevolent, very wise, very kind, and an advocate. But don't think that she is in any way a pushover. She will God slap bitch someone if she bitch slap someone if she has to. So the Justice card is a very good card for her. Very good pick for her. Nanshe is very wise. She gives very good advice. Now, another thing that was done with her when people came to her temples, sometimes in certain situations, they were thrown in the river. And these people who survived it were innocent. If they sunk, oh well. You weren't so innocent, now were you? So that's something that you can look up too. So she represented plenty to eat, plenty to drink, a home, and a place of comfort. She who seeks out the justice for the poorest. She also represents refugees, especially from war torn places. So she took care of the foreigner, the refugee. They can find refuge in Nanshe's lap. She took care of the meek, the righteous, the weak, as well as the weak. She took care of the young and the old. She encouraged people to take care of the elderly. Nowadays we hear so many horror stories of people not taking care of their parents or grandparents, especially after everything they've done for them. Just leaving them alone to suffer. Or living, in a home where they have dementia and they haven't bathed, they haven't taken care of themselves. She's against that. So to properly take care of your children, raise them to treat, learn respect, to be civilized, to be good, productive citizens. She took care of she takes care of those who are disabled. Whether they became disabled through war, through violence, through birth, or because they were born that way. Those who are disabled is someone she looks after. Nanshe back in the day was very accessible, sometimes considered more accessible than Shamash. He's the sun god in Babylon, and Utu in Sumerian. Even though Utu, Shamash, is also a god of justice, the solar god, and who saw all things on the earth as he crossed the sky. But Nanshe too, but she was more accessible. She is also called the Great Mother, for she is a great goddess. And she acts as a mother for those who need her most. Those who are hitting bottom or at the lowest of the low can call upon Nanshe to help them for whatever reason is going on. Even those who are mentally ill, emotionally ill, have anxiety, can also call on Nanshe. And like I said, she can cause it, but if she causes it, she can take it, she can ease it and take it away, couldn't she? And again, if you need to see a therapist, seek psychiatry, seek medicine. Don't think that there's just a magic wand that you wave over your head and whoop, it's all gone. Don't work that way. Does not work that way. Nanshe gives comfort. She is not even considered selfish or petty or thoughtless. She is consistently a defender of those who need her most. Like I said, the disenfranchised, the outcast, the poor, the sick, the widow, the orphan, refugees from war. She is the companion to the stranger, to the foreigner. She is a companion to the traveler, and a benefactress to all in her community. It is said that she would even set up a place of destruction for those who are mighty and take advantage of the weak. And she will turn the mighty over to the weak. And it says that Nanshe even searches the heart of her people. Heart. I'm not saying literal heart. No heart sacrifices, but what's in a person's heart. So, Nanshe can be used also with removing unjust spirits or unclean spirits from your home. One can use her in the cleansing, as she is against unjust people in life. She could be against unjust people and death and entities that were never born, that are being unjust, especially entities taking advantage of those who are sick, and especially innocent animals and innocent babies. I fucking hate that. Don't you hate that when you hear about a spirit tormenting a child? That really sucks. You know. But some of these entities are disgusting. They just like to pick on the weakest, you know. They like to pick on the innocent. Nanshe won't stand for it. So if you have a haunting, Nanshe is good for that. Nanshe can be used for those who are working against you, casting against you. If it was unwarranted, or if the curse did not fit, you know, what you did. If you just said fuck you to someone and all of a sudden they're cursing you, it's like, yeah, you didn't deserve that. So what? Well, the guy just said fuck you right back and be over it. Oh, fuck you. No, fuck you. Okay. You know. Some people, if you look at the wrong way, if they know magic, they'll just turn an evil eye against you. And Nanshe can be used for that. And also be used in justice spells when you need justice and you're not getting it. And in that way, that could be your revenge when she takes out her mighty hand and gives them a divine bitch slap. Nanshe is a divine prophetess and oracle. So, knowing this, she will be great to use for scrying. When you go into that meditative state, whether you're scrying. Sometimes I like to scry, and this may sound weird. Sometimes I may even have a crystal ball here. When I stare into the ball, sometimes I just close my eyes. And I meditate and I start scrying, even though the ball is there. I start scrying with my eyelids closed. Seriously, have you ever done that? Just close your eyes and literally scry the back of your eyelids. She is good for that. She's good for divination. She will... Some people have used oracle cards for her. I've seen people use tarot cards. Dream work. So divination. And also channeling. As you go, sometimes if you're going into a meditative state, and you can use her for that. For Ouija boards, I never used Nanshe for a Ouija board, to be honest. So she's a goddess that you can use for meditation to receive answers. For just go into a deep meditation. And like I said, she's a goddess. She deals with fate. So she can be used to, hey, Nanshe, can you change my fate? I've done more than pay for the shitty things I've done, or something like that. She can... she's a goddess. She's not a stern goddess of fate. She's approachable. She could be used to change things for the better. Sort of like, imagine if you're supposed to get into an accident. There's no way out of it. This is meant for you to get into a car accident. So what happens if you need to get into that car accident and it's just not even a fender bender? You just basically tap someone. Well, you had an accident, right? You tap someone else's car. There's hardly a scratch. Well, you had the accident. It was fate, right? Instead of having one of those accidents where your car goes off a highway and tumbles like 10, 15 times and you have to be saved by the jaws of life and put into the hospital. Or maybe you were supposed to get hurt in the accident. So you get into a fender bender and you get a minor bruise. Well, you got hurt, right? Instead of having like a broken jaw. So again, there's things that some things are meant to happen, but it can happen in a more gentler way. So that's what I mean by the goddess of fate. Oh, what about you, Mr. Joker? You're a bad boy today. You and your brother. You're so lucky I love them. So, when I say she's a goddess of fishing, I mean that in a physical way. But also, fishing could be metaphorically, like fishing for ideas, fishing for answers. So, yeah, so let's recap. She's the goddess of dream interpreters, sleep therapists, judges, lawyers, prosecutors. It really makes her day when you help those in need, especially those who are vulnerable. Those who are marginalized. Again, she's the goddess for those who are marginalized, those who are vulnerable. So, and she's also those who, she can also help those, like I said, to do divination for people. She believes in fair play. But that's one of her things that she was placed in charge of, is fish and fishing by Enki. She deals also with the Hermit. I don't know how I'm supposed to bring this up, but the card the Hermit came right in my mind. And he holds the light. She, when I say fishing for ideas and divination, she is the Hermit, like the monk, the world renouncer, those who meditate. And she literally represents the Hermit, in which sometimes I think that she goes into her hermit stage where she's like in that frame of mind, in that frame of energy, the Hermit. She also represents, I would say in the cards, judgment. She would definitely represent judgment. Astrologically, definitely Pisces. Ooh, some offerings. What would you give to Nanshe as an offering? Definitely fresh water. You would give her breads, wine, chocolate. No, chocolate's always good. I love chocolate. You can give her bread stuff. I mean, you can make her pancakes. Any type of bread, cornbread, raisin bread, white bread, wheat bread, whole wheat bread. Give her some cakes. Some people, you can give her a salad. I know hot and cold prepared foods. Since she's a goddess of fishing, one would say, you know, give her some fish, seafood. So she would like that. Offerings to her will also include giving donations to orphanages, and giving donations to like the Red Cross. So stuff like that. Just bear with me because I do not use notes. I do not use talking points. I do not use a script. And sometimes I have little gremlins running around. 6 furry gremlins. My cats. Fruit. Fruit is a good idea to give to her. Fresh fruit could be... She likes that. Some people like to give her, like, you know, dead leaves and burn them. Just like the scent of that. And she does appreciate some incense. She does like roses. I know people give her roses and she really, really loves that. So whatever color you like. What color roses do you like? Or do you see a fancy rose? You know, give her some pretty roses. She really likes that. So, other things about Nanshe. So, Nanshe would also maybe like dry fruit. So, I mean, fresh fruit, dry. I like, well, how about this? Chocolate covered fruit. That sounds good. And since she does deal with like the grain and that, you can give her oatmeal, cereal. Just some ideas to give to Nanshe. So, in Lagash record, and this was recorded, that many rulers in the geographical area said that they were chosen by Nanshe, even though sometimes Nanshe was overshadowed by Inanna or Ishtar. Like I said, there were rulers that said they were chosen by the goddess Nanshe to rule. Speaking of rulers, she would rather a fair and just and kind ruler. Or nowadays, politicians. Which politicians aren't supposed to be, in my country, they're not supposed to be your rulers. They're not supposed to be your overlords. They're supposed to be of the people, by the people, for the people, and to serve the people. Not the other way around. They are not our rulers. Although they like to act like that sometimes. Right, Joker? You're the only ruler I want. Say hello. This should be your ruler. Right here, the Joker. And he'll say, why so serious? You'll put a smile on your face. You didn't put a smile on my face today. Okay. You want to hear what's going on now? These little brats, when I was sleeping, knocked over a cooking oil bottle. Luckily it was vegetable oil. It wasn't something that could have hurt them. I didn't have the lid on right, I guess. I didn't have it on tight. Oh, they were magical. It got all over the stovetop, all over the counters, all over on the floor. And then, of course, my other half put the bags in it. And then, oh my God, I picked up the grocery bags because we used the cloth bags. And it was all over. Everywhere we put the cloth bag, it was all over. Then it got all over the handle the refrigerator. Oh, it was so much fun. Brat. Last night you knocked over 3 times a water bowl. 3 times. And when I'm trying to clean it, you jump on the towel. Yeah, you jump on the towel like it's some amusement park. And I love you every single day regardless of all the horrible things you did. But that was the really most fucked up thing you've done with the oil bottle. That was really fucked up. Of all the shit they did. Anyways, Nanshe, let's get back to Nanshe. I know, because I kept on having nightmares. I'm gonna have nightmares about that. So, I know you can all have a laugh about me. Goddess of fertility. Not just for, also, we also have to think about pregnancy too. The fertility of the land, fertility of the animals, fertility of humans. So fertility all around. Because again, her bowl is with the, also symbol is a bowl with a water, filled with water with a fish, with one fish in it. That represents the womb and pregnancy, and so she also represents the pregnant animal, the pregnant woman. So through fertility, we have life. Hence, Mother Goddess. Gosh, I've been talking for 52 minutes. She can be used in spells to punish the wrongdoer. Sort of like the child abuser and the domestic violent partner. Please get help if you know anything about that. If you have to, call CPS, then call Nanshe. If you have to call Child Protective Services to protect a child, you do it. If you know there's definite abuse. We're not talking about yelling or just like a little slap on the wrist or something. We're talking about, you know, parent beating their children or starving them. Yeah. Call CPS, then do your spells. Otherwise, it's like seeing someone on fire and say, don't worry, I'll pray for you. Yeah, you got to do something first, then pray for them. I know there's a fragrance called Nanshe, who they named after the goddess. I've never used it, so. So, like I said, she had many functions. And I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to learn more about Nanshe. If you like this video, please subscribe so that you never miss anything. Oh, she did have someone that I'm trying to think of her name, the name. She had her visor. Nanshe, before I forgot, like I said, I don't have any notes. Her advisor was Hendursag. Hendursag. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Hendursag, who was in charge of people's transgressions and deeds, and he helped judge people. And he's actually the brother of her husband, Nindara, but sometimes it's seen as Haya. So again, Hendursag was the visor of Nanshe. So anyways, back to this. If you like my video, please subscribe so that you never miss anything. And I do have many videos, so you can look up my content. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If not, give me a thumbs down. And I would love to hear your thoughts on Nanshe, or if you had any experiences with this goddess, you know, drop it, write it in the comments. And I do appreciate all the people who subscribed or watched my videos or give me a like or made a comment. I really do appreciate it, and I always do my best to reply ASAP, or at least acknowledge that I read it. So if you like this video, please share this with your group or with your friends and family. Now, okay, let's just say I had a Patreon account, which I don't. But if I did, the amount you would give to me, I would like you to take that and do something good with the money. Do something good. Buy a bag of food for a animal shelter, or take that money and donate it to an organization that helps women and children in need, or donate to some type of Meals on Wheels service or some senior center. And if you have an elderly person that you know of, once in a while check in on them. Make sure they're okay. Make sure they have food or something, or at least, you know, they're okay. You know, do your own little welfare check, you know, knock on the door and say, hey, I just want to say hello, or if you see them, say hi, you know. So if it's a storm approaching, just make sure that they, hey, do you have any water? Because we have extra, you know. Make sure they, you know, they have something. Maybe something to eat, or just make sure they're okay. But anyways, I'm glad you watched this video to this point. And as always, blessed be.